Yes, here we are previewing New Zealand versus South Africa, not the Rugby World Cup final, but a cricket match, which is super important in shaping up the Cricket World Cup final. My name is Avnish Hegde, and I have, of course, Gukirat and Nikhil Popat to, of course, break this fixture down, which comes from Pune, hot as Pune, in terms of the weather right now. Gukirat, first and foremost, how are we this Wednesday afternoon, and who are you backing? Let's get that clear for starters.
Yeah, hoping for a far more interesting game than what we had last time. Uh, because yesterday all of us knew what happened in the review show. So yeah, hopefully a lot more to talk about in the review show, and obviously there's a greater context in terms of if New Zealand win today, we are closer to really knowing who our top four is. But if South Africa win, then New Zealand will also be in some trouble. Their game on Saturday, I believe, versus Pakistan becomes an important fixture, and so does their one remaining game versus, I think it's versus Sri Lanka. Yeah, so those two games will have some context, and yeah, I expect it to be a to be a game where it's a 320 odd versus 320 odd. Let's see who wins. I I'd really want South Africa to win with Nikhil over there, but let's see what's in store.
Yeah, New Zealand, like you said, Goki, that have two more games, and that comes in Bangalore against Sri Lanka and Pakistan first, and then Sri Lanka, like you said. Next, it's 2 versus 3 today. Your beloved South Africa do play, so I'm not going to ask you who you're backing in this one. But can South Africa break the Kiwi jinx? Because in the last 5 games in World Cup competitions, New Zealand have been having the last laugh. Will that be the similar pattern today, or do you think you're going to see something different?
Well, we've seen a few streaks getting broken in this World Cup itself. So may not be a bad day for another one to come true, but it won't be easy and it shouldn't be. That's what we expect versus the top side. So hoping for, as Padi said, 320 game. जैसा भी game होता है, hoping for a close finish because New Zealand South Africa games have had that kind of finishes in the recent past. So hoping it just lives up to the billing then.
Indeed. Now, remember, a win for New Zealand will help them move away from the chasing pack, whereas South Africa, on the other hand, Gurkirat, would know a win levels them up with the home side and may as well help them avoid a ramp in India in the Mumbai semi-final. Do you think they'll already kind of look at it that way with regards to, oh, okay, fine, they want to avoid India, and now knowing it's 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3, how do you think it's going to shape up this critical fixture that is?
See, the advantage for South Africa actually going into the semis would be that they would have played at both the venues. They would have
Hmm.
played. They've already played a game at Wankhede, and they would have played versus India in Eden. And I believe their last game is also at Eden. On the other hand, I don't think New Zealand have had played a league game at Wankhede, and I don't think they'll be playing one at Eden either. So yeah, you'd like to avoid India in terms of the form that they have, but either way, South Africa will have an advantage of playing at both the venues. So more important fixture for New Zealand, given they have lost two games, and you really don't want to get into a streak of losses. South Africa can afford a loss, but then again, why would you want to give an opponent or in an inch or be complacent? If you can really win it and go with that confidence into the game versus India, you might as well do it. So yeah, things at stake for both, but a more important fixture for New Zealand.
Yeah, like you mentioned, New Zealand losing to India and Australia, and they haven't been really thumped in any which way, shape, or form. They were just not better on that day, on that occasion, I should say. Keep your comments coming through, of course. We'll always entertain them on any particular cricket.com platform, and more so the previews and the reviews. Santosh Udupa, good to see you. Good afternoon. He's saying this could be a very rare fixture where South Africa will be playing without much pressure at stake. Chinmay Athea, will this be a 320, 350 wicket? That's my biggest dilemma. And he asks for Nikhil's thoughts. We'll guess Nikhil's thoughts and Gukiyat's thoughts about the prediction X factor and everything else as well. And Pranav, good to see you as well. Between 2019 and 2023 World Cup, New Zealand and South Africa played against each other less than India played against Park. Isn't that hilarious and sad? I mean, it's a good observation that you've made over there. But there's some fascinating subplots heading into this one. You look at South Africa's pace battery next, by far the best in this World Cup. I think the preview on cricket.com suggested they had 44 wickets, which is definitely the best for a pace battery in this World Cup. And then you look at the Kiwis and some other fascinating subplots and insights. Devon Conway not really having the best performance heading into this particular game. I know he started off the tournament pretty well. Tom Latham and his spin susceptibility is something that we can talk about as well. And of course, lots more questions indeed. Before we get into the X factors and all of that, the toss, Nikhil, has it happened? And can you just update us because I don't have my TV in front of me?
No, not yet. Surprised why it hasn't happened already, but hasn't happened yet. And yeah, as rightly said, lots of mini battles to look out for. A lot of people, again, as you said, 2019 के बाद एक भी game नहीं खेले these two sides. So it's very very surprising. But let's see how this all pans out because Janssen versus William, Devon Conway, and at the other end you also have an informed middle order for New Zealand versus Coetzee who's taking wickets in the middle overs for South Africa. So all of that batter, I think New Zealand might miss Lockie Ferguson because I think he's injured due to a heel injury or something. Because South Africa have been troubled by pace and raw pace in while chasing. So that could be a place where New Zealand could feel hard done by. But let's see if Tim Saudi plays. And yeah, the captains are out for the toss now.
Yeah, the toss will definitely be broken to you guys right now with Nikhil right there. Gurkira, just before that, you were listening to the pitch report with Ricky Ponting and Sean Pollock. I mean, why did you initially say 320? Is it just because it's just a hard, fresh deck with a little bit of grass in it, short boundaries? That's why you're thinking high scores today?
See, if you look at the usual nature of the pitch here at Pune, it's one which has good pace and bounce, and stroke making has been fairly easy. You could rarely hit on the up. The game between India and Bangladesh, you felt that it was probably a 320 330 kind of a track. I mean, a good batting side after getting that kind of a start would have even targeted 350 fairly easily. Even in the last game, you did not feel that Afghanistan chased 240 with 5 overs to spare, and they never really had to take any risk or go probably at a level higher than the required rate. They were pretty much comfortable, so they could have also chased 280 290. So you feel that it's been a good batting pitch. In the pitch report, they said that it could become a little too paced towards the end, but we'll really have to see if it really becomes that, because we've seen enough to know that pitch reports aren't completely trustworthy. I
No,
think that
indeed.
is Nikhil's.
Absolutely,
Sorry.
indeed. Let me just stop you there because the toss has happened, and like people are going crazy in the comments. New Zealand bowling, guys. I mean, we know what South Africa can do batting first, Nikhil. Has this played into the hands of the Proteas, you feel, Mr. Popat?
Yeah, it depends on how they approach this one, because it we saw that yesterday as well. We saw that in the Sri Lanka game as well. That and yes, Tim South is in for Ferguson, so that's something that you expected to happen. But if it is to get better under lights, New Zealand have chased well. So it's not that New Zealand will mind this. Yes, and they'll hope. And like I've said, for every team facing South Africa, you have to look for wickets at all times. If New Zealand are able to get that, they'll keep them to a score which is chaseable. And if due is due to come in, 320 might not be enough also, given that if there is due, South Africa have relied on new ball wickets. So if that doesn't come in, and you've seen the form of Rachin Ravindra, Daryl Mitchell, Devon Conway will also not mind chasing. So it could work out for both teams, but I don't think both teams will be disappointed. I think South Africa have batted well they have batted first, and New Zealand have chased well. So it is just makes the contest even more better to watch out that both are doing their strengths.
Yeah, South Africa, one change for them. Kagiso Rabada back in for Tabraiz Shamsi. And again, it's surface dependent, that I'm guessing. Kukirat, the funny thing is, New Zealand, 6 games into this World Cup, I think they've got 2 wins chasing, 2 wins batting first, and then they've lost one each batting first and batting second. So, do you think they're a better team chasing, or do you think they're a better team batting first?
Paji is unable to hear anything.
Yeah, Paji, can you hear me?
My net really fluctuated in between, so I couldn't really hear anything that you said.
I'll
Sorry for
repeat that
that.
question.
Ah.
No worries. I'll repeat that question if you can hear me. Is New Zealand a better chasing side, or do you think they're more of a side batting first?
I think given their batting depth, they can even chase decently, because we saw how they paced the chase versus Australia in that last game. And I feel what would have also given some confidence is how South Africa have bowled, to the lower half. South Africa have rarely conceded runs to the last four wickets, regardless of which opponent they have played against. And with Nisham getting some form in the last game, Nisham being in good batting form, and now with Saudi being there, who himself can tonk a few. I think that would have also been a factor with them thinking that, okay, if we have Saudi at 8, or maybe Saudi at 9 with Santner at 8, we can probably chase something. Given how South Africa have really bowled to the last four batters, because I believe Anirudh had shared one of one stat, one, a stat which said probably that they were averaging more than 30 runs for the last four wickets, and that's been a pattern even in the last game versus Pakistan. Pakistan were 141 for 5, but they still reached 270. So I think that would have also given New Zealand some confidence that probably if there is due in the second innings, we could really make use of that. And yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, and this is the question that I have for Nikhil. Could they have really played Ish Sodhi today, with Lockie Ferguson not being there, or you think going with Tim Saudi is the better choice?
I mean, this venue hasn't had anything for spin, to be very honest. So even the teams who've had better spinners were not able to do anything with spin. So it would have just been a risk which, I don't know, could have backfired big time. And with Tim Saudi, Pacers have done well at the venue, and you want to give Tim Saudi game time as well. So if suppose they want, if Lockie is out for a longer duration of time, Team Saudi is more likely to play more games as well. So I think it's just a fair call to go, depending on the surface. That's the risk.
Yeah, speaking of the surface, I think both the captains wanting to chase first just gives you an indication and maybe some due later on. But right now, before we get into Gurkirat and Nikhil's insights a little bit more and take comments, we'll definitely take comments, Divyanu, because we will answer your question. For example, he goes on to say, Nikhil bhai, Hegde bhai, Gurkirat, Teddy, Paji, Rachin Ravindra's like a lefty KL Rahul, isn't it? We'll answer that. We'll answer that. I don't want to get into that right now. But all you people watching right now on a Wednesday afternoon, please like this particular video and subscribe to us if you guys are new. We've just hit 37.3k on YouTube and onwards and upwards indeed. Santa Cruz, Gigi, good to see you as well. We'll take your questions like I mentioned, but have to, of course, adhere to my producer because he's got some sensational stats and we can show you one by one. Now, Daryl Mitchell, of course, this man will be chasing tonight, given that New Zealand will be bowling first in Pune, but he's just had a time of his life in the 50-over format since 2021 because he's notched up the most runs for a Kiwi, 1,347 runs in 31 innings to be precise, over the rest, as you can see over there. We were speaking of Rachin Ravindra, fine at the tournament indeed, because the most 50-plus scores for New Zealand in an ODI World Cup, Rachin Ravindra has 4 right now in the 6 innings he's played, and he needs, one more to level Scott Styris and the great Martin Crowe. Maybe he can get 2 more and have a real World Cup to remember. Speaking of World Cups to remember, Quinton de Kock will be batting very, very shortly out there, and I know he loves Indian surfaces. He needs 1 more 100 to equal Sankara's record of course, that 2015 thing, but he's still 2 away from Rohit's record, which he got in 2019. Last couple of ones then. Markram's 2023, most runs for South Africa this year. He's been absolutely lighting up. Aren't they all, even in terms of Heinrich Klaas and Quinton de Kock, they can all really pack a punch. And like Kirat and the boys are mentioning, 320 is definitely on the cards. And finally, the stat pair for the Kiwis, most runs for New Zealand in the made-up World Cup edition. It's these two who feature in the top 3, Rachin Ravindra and Daryl Mitchell, the men, beg your pardon, that we showed you, and they join an illustrious list of names. Finally, it is a points table that we have to, of course, talk about. South Africa and New Zealand. Like I said, if South Africa win today, they have that 1 foot indeed. I mean, they're already pretty much in the semis, but they can really now choose how they want to go about their business, whether they end up in the top 2, whether they go top 1, only time will tell because they're playing India on Sunday. Right, with that out of the way, guys, finally felt like an absolute eternity. That key battles coming next. Right, key battles then, and in our statistical review, we put off, of course, the inevitable off-field shots. I don't think Ben Stokes is going to be scoring so early on. But how do you get South Africa? You just mentioned it there right now, Nikhil, that you need wickets. What is the modus operandi? I know the Kiwis always have it up their sleeve, but do they do something slightly different on this drier surface in Pune right here, right now?
Yeah, I'm very keen to see if they start with. Of course, they'll start with the two paces, but what Netherlands did is something that I'm looking forward to. Whether again going to Glenn Phillips might be far too Jaimatadi even for New Zealand in the power play, but won't rule it out. It depends on how Babuma goes. I think today is the day where Babuma has to take the charge so that Quinton doesn't have to worry too much about going after the bowling. And Bauma hasn't quite had a start as well like that. So today could just be the day that he eases Quinton into the innings, because you have Trent Bolt who's taken only two power play wickets in this World Cup so far in the first 10 overs. So if there is no swing, then New Zealand will look to bowl straight, and Australia showed you that you can't put them off their plans. So you don't have to have intent like head and score 118. Even 75, 65 odd will do. But that intent will what set the game up for New Zealand. For New Zealand with the ball and South Africa with the bat, K, are you playing catch up or you are getting wickets at regular times? Because we've seen that in the past that South Africa have had to slow down. They've had to wait if they have lost the early wicket. So you saw that against. I mean, they slowed down against England in the first
Yeah.
4 or 5 overs, and even then they got to that score. So it just tells you the capability that there is, and which is why just looking to strike at all points of time will be very crucial. So uh, Bolt and Henry early, Saudi Glenn Phillips maybe first change, and they've had Santner bowling very well. So we've discussed left arm spin, the threat to Markram. RVD's gotten out to spin a lot this time. So it will not be a bad ploy to start with spin as well. But let's see how New Zealand have prepared for this one.
I mean, it's wishful thinking if you want to say Bavuma to give you a little flyer, because I know that's not happened. Even in that South Africa Sri Lanka game in Delhi, Gurkirat, we saw Dikok going absolutely gung-ho from the other end while Temba Bavuma was buying his time. My question to you is just looking at the second innings. I know it's obviously a far stretch to ask you about certain key battles there, but generally from the offset, what were the key battles you were kind of looking at before this game started?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, I feel with New Zealand going to chase now and there being a possibility of due, I do feel that if New Zealand get off to a decent start, if they get into a situation, say, where they need 150 runs. Now, I'm talking about the scenario where South Africa have a good score on the board, and New Zealand are in a position where they have to chase 150 going into the last 20. Now, how South Africa deal with that, because so far what has happened is that whenever South Africa batted first, they've just out batted the opposition and gotten those early wickets to an extent that even if they've not been disciplined enough with the ball to bowling to the lower half, it hasn't really mattered to them. But today could be that moment where they get tested versus that lower half, because New Zealand uh, have shown as a team that they haven't really collapsed in any of the games, right? They've had batters to sort of arrest the collapse. At most, two wickets have fallen at a stretch, but not more than that. So I feel that would be a key battle, because I reckon this game could go close, and that is where South Africa could get tested in terms of how do their bowlers step up under pressure, because four wins they've had while batting first where bowlers haven't had that much pressure. In the last game, bowlers did do well in the first half, once again could have done better, and then they were held by some careless batting, you could say, by Pakistan as well, because they did not bat out their overs. And then the bowlers did well with the bat to close out that game where it got tricky for them. But today I think those bowlers could get tested in the last 15 or 20 in how do they really defend the total when it comes to that. So that
Mhm.
is a key battle that I'm looking at. And then Santner has done well. Nikhil had spoken of this earlier, that Markram has struggled versus left arm spin. Even Babuma has not had great numbers versus left arm spin. Rassi van der Dusen 6 times has been dismissed to spin only. I do feel some of those dismissals have been while trying to go big, like the one versus Sri Lanka. When he got out to Velalage, he had scored 100, wanted to go big, or the dismissal versus Adil Rashid in that England game, just wanted to get a move on. So I feel from that front, how the middle order really tackles the threat of Santner. If there is any grip on offer, would be interesting to see because Santner has really bowled very well in this tournament.
No, indeed. I have to, of course, ask you guys, I'm compelled rather, how the hell do we get Rachin Ravindra out in terms of the South African today, Knicks? Because that 115 against the Aussies, I know it was probably too much to chase in the day, but the boy can bat. Have you seen any chinks in his armor, and how can Rabada and company exploit it?
Yeah, without putting the marker on him, just good nights outside of some channel in this first 15, 20 runs, and he'll give you one chance. Just just do it.
as, as simple as that. Yeah, I mean, sometimes cricket is a simple game. We just try to overcomplicate it indeed. By the way, we'll take some random questions coming on right now before we, of course, get into the X factors, boys. DK saying, how long till we get another deep point of the gilly cricket? Oh my God, look at him. After the
After the
World
World
Cup.
Cup, there's no
After the World
time.
Cup. 100%. There's no time in anything. All these good things, of course, take time indeed. GG going on to say, why is South Africa better at setting a target than chasing? Gurkirat, can you just shed a little light on that?
See, when you are chasing a target, you some, especially when you've conceded an above par total, uh, then you probably have to take a few early on risk early, especially if the pitch is going to slow down. And South Africa's lack of batting depth doesn't really, allow them to take those risks early on. But when they are batting first, they really don't have that scoreboard pressure, and they are set up in that manner that if Miller and Klassen are coming in the last 15, then they really have the license to go for it. So one of those reasons is that, but I also feel maybe too much is being read into them not chasing, because out of 6 games they've had only 2 games where they had to chase. One was versus Netherlands, which they lost, where you felt that they just lost too many wickets in up front. I think they were 4 down for under 50. Now you could have batting even till 8 or 9, but if you are 4 down for under 50, like we have seen with England's case, you're not going to chase much. So that one example can happen to any team regardless of what is their batting depth. Coming to the Pakistan game, they chased it well. What helped them was that pitch got better to bat on also. But yes, some of the shots could have been avoided. And then again, all of it just comes down to having that batting depth. Not having that batting depth, which probably, if you are chasing a bigger total, it makes you a little circumspect. At the same time, it allows you to pace yourself better. So it's a bit here and there in terms of it could work out both ways, but in recent times it hasn't. So I still feel it's just too much being read into it. Let's see how they do, when they have to say chase against India on a ground like Eden, because I feel that is one venue where both teams would want to chase, given how Dew comes into play. It's a very good boundary hitting ground, not just six hitting ground, because the outfield is lightning fast. So we'll probably have to see one other game against a good side to probably confidently say, okay, this is the team that really prefers to bat first rather than chase.
Yeah, and speaking of that India South Africa clash, it's an absolute rip roar of a game. But even on the content scheme of things, cricket.com's got you sorted. So Sunday, join us for the preview, the mid innings, the review. There'll be lots of videos going out because it's Virat Kohli's birthday. There's a fan cams of the New Zealand Pakistan game on the 4th as well.
Avnish,
So that'll serve well.
Avnish, would you be would you be wearing a Virat Kohli mask as what they are going to offer at Eden? Is what the reports are coming out.
No, no, no. Just be yourself and then support the boys. Support Virat. I mean, I don't believe into that hashtag as well. We for Virat. They're just building it up way too much for one player. If this was me 12 years ago, I'd be like, why the hell are we putting Sachin on a pedestal? But now I get it. But look, that's a chat for another day. Nick, there's lots of questions coming towards your end, and we'll take it in the next segment, which is, of course, the X Factors. Right, X Factors, you guys are absolutely spot on. Both of y'all yesterday about don't. Can you guys make it two on the trot in terms of calling correctly? Only time will tell. But here's one to get you started, Nix. Chinmay saying, I'm going with Jansen, Mitchell, and Rachin. I'm confused between Markram and Santner. Throw me some light, Nikhil Bhai. I'm guessing he's saying fantasy picks, but talk to me about the X factors and fantasy picks, please.
So there
Uh,
is some light for all of us,
there is some
and
light.
hopefully some light on myself as well, so that we get some good grinding wins. But
Yes.
it's a fair call to go with all the all-rounders because they've all had good times. Again, Mitchell has started very well without taking too many risks. Jansen has been taking wickets every game, taking two there. And with Rachin, while bowling first, it's even better because if it is supposed to slow down, he'll still be batting when it should be the best to bat in terms of the first 10 overs of the power play, and then it might just slow down later. So, in that aspect, you have all of those covered. With Markram and Sander, see, I took the risk with Markram in the last game, and it did not pay off. So, the one line that I tell myself is form se masti nahi. So, you keep Markram, and with Sander, you have to just take a call that whether you think Sander will take more than one wicket, and then how do you expect the other guy who you're taking in place of Sander to do, whether it is RVD or it is anybody else, whether it's Glenn Phillips. Do you see Glenn Phillips bowling, or do you want to take one of the pacers who may make most of the two pace decks that Ricky Ponting expect this to be? So it all eventually goes down to how you visualize, but all rounders are something that I will not take risk on. But if you want to, just be very sure of what the other guy will do for you in place of that guy.
Okay, so your X factors today, then, really quickly.
Uh, Jansen, again, I probably been the guy who's been doing the good work for them for a long time. But again, because they're batting first, uh, could really have a good score and then bowl under lights, do well. So Jansen is one call. From New Zealand, very tempted to go with Tim Southey. पता नहीं क्यों ऐसा लग रहा है कि he could really have a good role. So I'll stick with Tim Southey. Could also hit a few with the bat, but watch out for spin because I have no trust on pitch report now. So that has completely ruled me out in terms of going for something like a Maharaj or a Sandler because you don't know how the pitch will play. And given that it is supposed to get better to bat on, so Saudi while bowling first could handy 2-3 for ले ले तो काम हो जाएगा.
Okay, so Tim Southey and Marco Jansen. I'm going random. I'm going Tom Latham. I think he'll have some game to remember. Mark my words. And Rasi van der Dusen.
Nice.
What about Gurkirat? Gurkirat, are you going for anyone else?
Yeah, today I feel it's going to be Bahuma.
Oh,
He started off really well in that last game. A couple of shots that he hit, I felt like okay, today is going to be his day. Just that I feel he got out to the first fall shot that he had probably because Wasim Junior had just come on. He probably felt again this is the last over of the power play. I have to take advantage of it. Went for that shot early, but he looked good. And Pune has had good bounce. So in terms of bounce, it is something which would mirror the conditions in South Africa. So I feel like today is Bavuma's day in terms of having a good score. It's also important for South Africa that he does have a good score. So Bavuma for South Africa. For New Zealand, difficult one because if they were bowling in the evening, I would have gone for Bolt, eyes closed because swing is there, and it's high time that he would have come into the game, like how Shaheen also got wickets yesterday with the new ball, but now they're bowling in the afternoon. I just feel that Santner could be that guy to maybe get a few wickets in the middle overs and sort of restrict South Africa to a chaseable total because New Zealand don't have a great death bowling. Even Saudis, you pick any of their pacers, they've not been great at death bowling. So yeah, Santner for New Zealand and Bavuma for South Africa.
Okay, that's some good picks, not just from Gurkirat, but from Nikhil as well. And I mean, if you guys trust my picks, have all 6 of them because 6 X factors and a preview is a rarity on cricket.com. And if you guys are making your fantasy cricket teams, of course, check out the cricket.com app and the website. It'll help you with all the stats that you guys need. Time for some trivia then in our next segment called Did You Know? Right, that was a short and sweet sting. Let's, of course, tell you about the Did You Know today. Now, the Kiwis' highest total against South Africa in one internationals is 299 in 71 matches. The only team against whom they haven't registered a 300 plus total in ODIs after playing 5 plus games. That's a stat, but they won't have to worry about that today, or should they? Because if I peer into the cricket.com live blog section, it is honestly scary for New Zealand because every time South Africa have batted first, not just in the World Cup, but even before that, you look at how they've just got 300 easily. And I think today as well, guys, we're looking at what? Let's get the predictions out of there as well. I'm saying 333 for 7.
Yeah, very cold, a very good day. And again, November 1, VVS birthday. So happy birthday, VVS.
Oh,
South
VVS.
Africa.
Happy birthday,
South Africa.
VVS. Happy birthday, Aishwarya Rai. Happy birthday, everyone.
Happy birthday to my wife as well. But yeah,
Oh, sweet.
the score that I'm going for because I want a good game is very close to one that you said, 321 for 6. Let's go that way.
321 for 6, 333 for 7. And Gurkirat, are you going to go for 350 plus, my friend? Be bold.
Let's take the mean of both the scores, 329. And 329
Okay,
means
3.
330 should be a good chase. Should be a good chase. So yeah. But
But 329, do you think that's a winning score, more importantly? Or do you think it'll be still nip and tuck?
no, I think it would be around par, given how the pitch usually at Pune is. Because see, when we talk of games at Pune, we remember that game where Kedar and Virat had that great partnership. India chased down around I think 315. Then when India and England played a three-match ODI series in 2021 in Pune, high-scoring series, uh, England I think in one of the games chased around 310, 315 with in 34, 35 overs. Stokes had gone mad, scored a 99 in 57 or something. Uh, England lost that series, but in all those three games, they were within touching distance of chasing down the score. In one of them, they just collapsed because they wanted to bat like how they do. So yeah, I think 330 would still be something which would be par for the course, or maybe at best 10 runs more than par. But with New Zealand's batting depth and them chasing, you feel that they should be really in the game. But yeah, they'd need a score from one of Latham or Conway, because Conway after that 150 hasn't done much. Latham, you expect a lot more from him, given how good he is versus spin and how he's been one of the pillars of the New Zealand side. So probably could be that day for one of them if New Zealand are to chase down a good score.
Okay, we can give you some more ground details, so to speak, because in one internationals in Pune, the success rate of teams batting first and batting second is 50% each, with the average first inning score and winning score being 310. But like the boys have been referring to, both these batting lineups pack a punch, so you can expect something in excess of that. Right, gentlemen, we'll of course touch base at the review of the New Zealand South Africa game. I'm actually hoping that South Africa win today, so that there is still light at the end of the road for Afghanistan and teams like that. Because if New Zealand pocket the points, it's a tata goodbye to many teams. So let's see if the tournament is still wide blown open. It's the business end of the tournament. It's a new month. Let's see if we get some new fascinating subplots indeed. Kukirat, Nikhil, thanks for your time. And like Santa de Cruz said, just realized it's game nights day tonight. It is game nights. It's my debut on game nights with Akshay Kumar Swami and Gaurav Nandan Tripathi. He nearly beats me. The man nearly beat me.
Nearly.
And nearly, bro. So basically, okay, I won't give spoilers, but basically he got the player right, but he messed up his first name. And then I realized, 1 second, I know this guy's proper name, and I said it and I won the quiz. So that drops at 8 p.m. You guys should definitely check that out. And we'll take another one because I'm being kind today. Gurkira, just answer this because Divyanu's been tabbing us quite a bit. Really quickly, we're running out of time.
See, it's not just about Latham alone. We have spoken of this, many times, that if you are reliant on one shot, and for Latham it sometimes becomes playing the sweep shot, then bowlers will not probably bowl you that length from where you can sweep them, which is what Zampa did in that last game. Zampa knew that Latham's only looking to sweep, so never bowled that length. On the contrary, uh, if you see what Ravindra did to Zampa, Ravindra came down the track quite a few times. Even when he was beaten in terms of where the ball was switching, he still went ahead with the shot, and cleared covers at one point of time, cleared mid off and got those boundaries. So it's never a good strategy to rely on just one stroke again. You know, it's something that we speak in terms of Virat Kohli and left arm spin as well. So The sweep is a good option, but it should never be the only option. And worse enough, it should not be the option which bowler knows you are going to try. So it's that. It's a good option on a lot of Indian pitches, especially where the bounce isn't the best one. The ball's really not rising, but just don't make it the only option.
Okay, super. The anthems are done. Two slips wait for, of course, a former Mumbai Indian to a former Mumbai Indian. De Kock, of course, up against Trent Bolt. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time. Have a fantastic day ahead. And like this particular video before you guys just end the stream or do whatever you guys do. Please like it. And, of course, subscribe if you guys are new. That's all we have. I'm out of here.